Hi everyone, welcome back to the Logic Lab. In today's video, we'll discuss something about memory. Okay, what is this memory actually? This memory is a part of CPU which stores the data either permanently or temporarily. Okay, we do have different types of memories, but before going to that concept, let's just discuss a very simple basic example, real life example, which is very close to this topic. Okay, suppose here I'm taking an example of bookshelf and a study table. Very basic example. Okay, now here, usually for long run, where do you store your books? In a bookshelf, right? Suppose today you have an exam. What do? The books that are required for your exam, you will just simply pick from the bookshelf and you will keep it on study table. Once you're done with your studies, you will simply clean your study table. You will just simply take off those books from the study table, right? Similarly, in the system, for long run, for the permanent storage, we do have something called hard disk. Okay, hard disk is an area where the data will be stored. It's a part of CPU, it's a unit of CPU where the data is stored permanently. Okay, now study table is like memory, okay, where you store the data temporarily. Okay, now you have got different types of memory here. Okay, study table is just like memory where you store the data temporarily. Okay, now here let's just take the same example of addition of two numbers. Suppose I have two numbers, a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20. Now I just want to add these numbers. Okay, where does a computer store these numbers? Here, if it stores these numbers A and B, 10 and 20, in this hard disk, it will be very difficult to access. It'll take some time to access as it is the permanent storage and it is very large. It will be difficult for the processor to access this. I mean, it's not difficult, it takes some time to access these variables. Now, at the same time, if it stores the data in the memory, it is very easy to access, just like a study table. Now, again, we have got two types of memories. Okay, first one is RAM, and then second one is ROM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. ROM stands for Read Only Memory. Let's just discuss about ROM later after discussing about RAM. Random Access Memory. Okay, now when you suppose you have written one program called say add.c, which is to add two numbers 10 and 20. Okay, what is the data that is required to execute this program? 10, 20, right? Now the system will simply keep this data 10 and 20 in RAM. Okay, now what is a plus b here? A plus b is 30. It just calculates the value, which is 30 again. Where will this 30 be stored? This 30 will be again stored in this RAM only. Now, processor will store this 10 and 20 in RAM. Okay, it just adds two numbers. After addition of two numbers, again the result will be stored in RAM. Then it will pick the same number 30 from RAM and displays on the monitor. Okay. Now, once you're done with your studies, you will be clearing your study table. Similarly, when you switch off the computer, when you switch off the computer, all the content of RAM will get erased. That means RAM is volatile. Okay, we use the term volatile because when you switch off the system, content of RAM will be erased. Whereas in hard disk, suppose you saved a photo. Okay, today you went to a picnic and you stored a photo in hard disk. Now you switched off your system. Tomorrow, when you again switch on the system, whatever data that you store in that hard disk will be there only. Okay, it is for permanent storage. That is why I compared it with bookshelf. So what about this RAM then? RAM is like, we can say that it is just a instruction manual. Suppose you bought an electronic good, say some washing machine or a television, you will be getting some instruction manual, right? How to operate it. Okay, all these kind of things, the instructions that are used to boot the computer or run the computer, load the operating system, and the instructions which are used to shut down the computer, all these will be stored in ROM, read only memory. It is read only memory. You cannot touch the content which is in ROM. Okay, it is just used for the system's purpose. System will use this ROM like an instruction manual. Okay, using these instructions, it will boot the system, it will shut down the system. Now I think you're much clear about hard disk, RAM, and then ROM. How a program will be executed. All the data that is being used by a program will be stored in RAM. Whenever you switch off the system, content of RAM will be erased. Content of hard disk will stay there. Content of ROM will also stay there. Hope you understood it well. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video.